Well, I see another issue. Stream Ninja, hold on a second. Let me try to fix it because it's not showing up at all. Let me do a quick test. Test. Why? 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 Why is everything breaking today? Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to try to fix it. Oh, everything's breaking today. Everything's breaking today. Let me turn it off. Turn it on. Okay. Let's see if I can pop this open. Test 2. Okay, there we go. It's fixed. Oh my god. By the grace of God. It's not the only thing that broke today. Twitch chat literally does not work. Like, I'll go to Twitch chat, right? I'll go to Twitch chat. It's here. It exists. But then I click to pop out the chat and it just vanishes. It doesn't pop out, it doesn't do anything. It literally just vanishes. So, you know. Hooray! It's all broken. It's all broken. It's one of those days. It's one of those days. I see you're over there, Threadknot. There's not much I'm gonna be able to do. Like you're not gonna show up or anything like that, and I can't. There's nowhere. I don't have a screen to put you. That's why I do the pop-out chats and Stream Ninja and everything. There's literally nowhere I could put you. You're the chat. I can't see Twitch chat. And it's the worst part is when you try to look up how do you fix Twitch chat pop out, right? Like Twitch chat pop out is not working, and every single response is click the cog and click pop out chat. It's like I'm telling you, it's not working. Does nobody have this issue but me? Nobody else in existence? Nobody. Yeah, probably. But it's still annoying because I still want people like to be able to, when they talk on Twitch, I'd still like people to be able to show up on the thing. I have no idea why it's doing this either. It doesn't make a lick of sense. Yeah, like it just does not pop up at a window. Your browser settings or extensions. There might be a setting within Twitch itself that needs adjustment or a temporary glitch. Yeah, none of it's fucking working. Oh, clear the browser cache and cookies. Nah. For me, that's a miserable experience. Yeah, hey, Browdy Wastelander, I see you for the moment, but again... Oh my god, I've got an idea. It's very scuffed. It's very scuffed, but here's what we're gonna do. Holy shit, that is some... That's some scuffage right there. There we go. All right. So I have just an entire window of Twitch open, and I shrank it all the way down and made the chat as big as I could. If I go literally any smaller, like, the chat starts shrinking. So you're legible. You just won't show up in the you won't show up in the feed or anything. But that's just the way it's gonna have to be. The worst part is the usual potential fixes, right? And one of them is literally clear the browser cache and cookies and everything. And I was like, no, because I'm one of those people that I have a different password for everything. So it's a fucking haul. But if I have to clear the cookies and cache and stuff, it's a fucking haul. That won't work, Threadnought. That won't work because it's going to show a dragon. It'll show a dragon every time. So, yeah, that won't work. Your plan is flawed. Your plan already presupposes that I'm a kobold, which I am not. I have. I tested closing everything out, open it back up, yeah. How far into the project are you? Well, right now, we are 129, technically 129 and a half pages in the book. I said I have all the claw glyphs done. Oh, I just realized a problem here. Hold on. I need to be able to see what screen we're on. Fuck, how am I going to do this? Alright. I pull you down here. Yeah. Oh my god, that's hideous. Oh my god, this Frankenstein setup we got going on here is hideous. I don't know what you're saying, Threadnought. Alright. There we go. Yeah, so we've got the claw glyphs done for the 5 casts and for the smilers. I can't see which one's currently above my head, or I tell you what each one is. Because of this Frankenstein setup we've got going on here. This is genuinely terrible. This is genuinely terrible on every level. Alright. But yeah, so we've got the 5 claw glyphs for the casts, and then I've got the one for the smilers. And morning, Dimitri. Again, we're having all kinds of tech issues right now. Fortunately, I kicked Stream Ninja into actually working properly, so that's a fucking relief. But I can't get Twitch chat to pop out at all. I have no idea why. It just doesn't show up. It doesn't exist. It does not make a new window or anything. It's really fucking weird. And of course, looking for that as an issue, nobody else on the planet has that issue apparently, or has ever had that issue. So, you know, it's one of those. We're breaking new ground, finding all the new stuff. Yeah. I need to ask someone I know if they can do a painting for me. A painting for it and all this stuff. So yeah, that'll be fun. Because I could probably use it as a thing. What more happened with Stop Killing Games? I know they hit their overdrive goal and everything, right? So now no matter what, they've got it in the bag. When all of the like phony votes and everything like that are thrown out and duplicates. Oh yeah, no. These group of fucking Karens that are complaining to credit card companies, so they're blocking things like that, which is not. Yeah, holy shit. That's just. Woofda. Valve is not pleased, as you can imagine. Yep. UK is speedrunning itself into a Nazi state really quickly. Really fucking quickly. Actually, no. Let's think about what the UK is actually doing. It's becoming a fascist state. Because they're emphasizing the good citizen, right? Nazism would be the threat of the outside. Fascism is the good citizen paradox, right? Where a good citizen would never speak ill of the government. A good citizen would do what they are told. A good citizen would be like their neighbors and be good citizens. You know, that's the authoritarian fascism they're falling into. Itch is a dead company walking. Half their games were lewd. Not really. I mean, just go through PayPal, right? Well, remember, Antifa is a fascist group. It's always been a fascist group. They've not once ever given a shit about fighting fascism. It's that whole thing was like, the left always operates under the idea of what it says on the tin must be true, right? So if you name a bill the puppy petting bill, it doesn't matter if it tells that you're gonna like saw all the people's puppies in half because they're not allowed to have pets anymore. Like, but it's the puppy petting bill. It says so on the thing. Who would lie about that? It says it's the puppy petting bill. The same thing with Antifa. Right? Antifa has always been a fascist terrorist organization. Always. But they're like, but it says anti-fascism. Therefore, it must be true. Which has never been true in the beginning. I mean, we've always had proof they were never anti. Like, always had proof. What do you think the constant threats of terrorism were? Oh, also, this is another thing that's tangentially related. They call it eco-vandalism. It's like, no. Vandalism, depending on your usage of it, is terrorism. Because you're using violence and the threat of more violence to get a political ideology. Right? There is no, like, passive, oh, well, terrorism is bad. Eco-terrorism is bad. But if you do eco-vandalism, that's so much better. No, it's still terrorism. You're still using violence and a show of force to get your way. It's still terrorism. That's not like you get to weasel your way out of it. And the only reason I bring this up was because of a video on Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood. There was a video talking about how, like, the game was too afraid of its own source material, which I agree with. Yeah. And it's like, well, this one retard wrote that if you do some eco-vandalism, it's a good thing. So like that. And if everybody just engaged in eco-vandalism, that'd be great. It's like, that's terrorism. You're trying to enforce your political ideology on somebody. You're using violence and the threat of violence to get your way. That's terrorism. Again, terrorism isn't just like a very specific thing, particular like it's not as super strict stringent. They think like, oh, you need to be waving around guns and stuff like that. It's like, no, you don't need that at all. Terrorism is what it is. You're using terror, the threat of violence, to get your way. It is literally terrorism. It is a political movement using the threat of violence and terror against people. It's fucking wild. Yeah, exactly. They're not different in the slightest. If you're doing vandalism specifically to intimidate people, to make them in fear so that they'll go along with whatever you decide, that's not vandalism anymore. That's terrorism now. If you're just some asshole that goes around and they key somebody's car just because, lol, like, okay, you're just a vandal. Normies are stupid and will believe terrorism is acceptable if you claim to be doing it for the greater good. Yeah, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Alright. So I got a lot of stuff written from when we last did it. I know. Oh my god. Should I go back over where we were? Alright, let's go from here. How about that? How about that? We'll go from here. If you don't like graffiti, then just look away like you do for human suffering. Oh my god. They always have to overplay their hand. All the time. And again, there's different types of graffiti, right? You get the art is my passion, the retards that do stick figures and they like just have single letters, really shitty handwriting, stuff like that, and like skull was here was spelled W-U-Z, right? But then you have genuine like holy shit, that's good. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Graffiti is vandalism. It 100% is. I just think like there's tiers of it too, you know? Because there are some where they're like genuine art pieces and you're just like, dude, if you, if you gave up this whole vandalism thing and you just started making art, I think you'd make a fucking killing here. I think you'd make a killing. Those are those ones where I genuinely like, well, I want to find these people. Be like, one, stop doing vandalism. Two, you should open an art studio or something, because fucking hell, you're pretty fucking good at this. Man, I wish you guys could see what Twitch chat was saying too. That's unfortunate. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. 100% Threadnought. Threadnought says there's some graffiti that looks nice and there's people who get hired to make it by property owners. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you just see some of those and you're just like, whew. Fucking hell. Alright. Let's... it's not that much more to go over. We'll go back over something we went through last time and we'll continue on through her section. Yeah. I know. Doesn't it suck? When you're somebody that's that was in the LGBT movement, and you just see how fucking monstrous and full of themselves and horrible they are now because they think they can get away with it. And you realize that the entire movement has always been a corrupt, terrible thing. It's just like, fucking hell. That's what they say when they say don't associate with strangers. Jesus Christ. Do you remember, again, this doesn't get brought up much. Do you remember the extreme hatred that went on for a while, right before the Summer of Love and everything, where the LGBT movement was trying to get rid of bisexuals? Because they said they were hateful bigots because they still cared about different sex relationships, and that they were just toying with people's hearts, and like that's horrible, horrible fucking shit all the way through, right? And nobody ever brings that up, that they tried to do this over and over and over again for years and years. Again, you ever want to find the most intolerant, hateful people in the world, they're gonna be a leftist. And they always have such insane mental gymnastic, lunar logic just going through their veins. Yeah, for the longest time there, for years, if you were bisexual in the LGBT movement, you were considered an enemy because you still cared about heterosexual stuff. Therefore, you were the enemy. And that was for years. It was so fucking stupid. Yep. Oh, no, I agree. Threadnought says, however, there's also the graffiti that effectively claims ownership of another person's property, and slanderous graffiti, like someone painting pedophile on somebody's front door to win an argument. Yep. Yep. Again, it's crime. Meh. Anyways, let's get into the thing. Again, we're going to go back over a section we've already done before, and then we'll continue on from it. Jennifer looked around her room and had a moment of self-reflection. I really am a freak. Her thoughts... excuse me. Yeah, I know, Threadnought. Her thoughts brought a swell of despair to her. When she looked at the artwork she had on the walls and the strands of lights hanging around the windows, it was the bedroom of an immature girl, not a woman that had faced hardship and overcome it. At least that is what she told herself, especially as she looked at all the questionable pictures on the walls and was hastily removing them. Again, like I said, it's the thing, if you've ever seen girls' rooms, right? I don't know why, but they have to, like... We joked about it before, the bedazzling, like, the cars and shit like that, turning their airbag into a fucking claymore. It's like, why do you need to do it? Why does it have to look pretty? Why? Why are you hanging Christmas lights around all your windows? What point and purpose is this? Holy shit. No, I can agree with that, Abysmal. I can agree with that. Yeah, the other girls in her house had their own living spaces, and gossip was rampant. She never really fit in with any of them anyways. She also was annoyed her friends hadn't tagged along, even more in hindsight when she discovered just how much more interesting the world really was. The world. The world really was. The world really was. Then the reminder of the bill for service on the tires hit her once more, and she grumbled. Hell, she found it particularly hard to even focus at work, and even care about the mundanities of life now that the scales had fallen from her eyes. Today was going to be the day. She was going to do whatever she could to be closer to that place. The stone worker, or whatever it was called. She needed to get the words down properly. She had already put in an application to become an intern at the Wolf Sanctuary, and already planned to change her degree when the semester started up in earnest again. It'd be hard work, but she had a drive in her now. Before, she was just going to have said she went. No real ambitions for her. But now, she had a place she wanted to focus at. More importantly, she had a lifeline she could contact. That ranger had given her his number so that the two of them could keep in touch. He had sworn he would be training her and helping to teach her things, but noted he had a few tasks spread out he had to take care of. This also reminded her that she needed to get in contact with her brother and thank him for his advice. It was funny how everything going so weird put so much more of her time in perspective. Much like she felt less concerned of work, given the sheer magnitude of the world out there now, she realized how little she had been branching out from herself. Whether it was because of the gossip in the house or just not wanting to rock the boat, it was her choice to be so insular. Those were just excuses before. Now she had a drive and a desire to change properly. No more putting things off for later. Today alone, she was going to the Wolf Sanctuary to assist, even while still waiting for the answer on her internship. With the last of her pinned pictures being taken down, she picked up her phone as she headed for the door. As she headed to the for the. What the fuck? That was me auto-correcting in my head, and I hate when I do that sometimes. She picked up her phone as she headed for the door. Come on, pick up. Hey, sis. Hey, Darren. You won't believe what happened. You saved my life. William took a deep breath as he drove through the streets. There had been no further strangeness, nothing that plagued his mind. This certainly eased the wariness he felt from the initial start of the day. He began falling back on the logical aspects of things to better anchor himself. He only had this strange sensation after speaking to Michael. Only after speaking to Michael did he find it harder to want to get up from his dreams. No one else panicked when they saw the wolf, so only he could see it. More puzzle pieces to add to the overall whole, yet what that whole was still completely obfuscated from him. Part of him had to accept that the ranger could be right. It would be intellectually dishonest to do otherwise, in the absence of evidence. Yet so, too, it was possible the ranger was wrong. Thus one should be careful not to twist events to fit a direct conclusion and risk overlooking something more plausible. Thaddeus decided it was time to refocus his attention to the daily tasks at hand. He would get to the network, check in, get his workout in, then get to finishing all the paperwork before running drills. This was the pace he had set for himself, something that others had noted was grueling, but he found the routine of it calming. Something he desperately wanted right now in his waking hours. First, though, his stomach decided to voice its complaints with the plan, and he was reminded he hadn't eaten anything for breakfast. So the first stop would be a place to get some food. Traffic was thankfully mild this morning, and he could look around a little easier at the various signs. One stuck out instantly to him with the promise of good meat, and so he signaled and pulled into a parking lot nearby. It was only a short walk to the entrance, but as he opened the door he realized he would need to walk up some stairs first. Yet there was nothing to defeat his hunger as he caught a smell of the cooking, and his mouth nearly watered, to the point he had to pat his chest and give a cough to regain some decorum. Slowly up each step he went, until he came to a door with the same mascot printed on his glass as hung outside. As he opened the door and stepped into the diner, the old-fashioned aesthetic hit his eyes and sensibilities, and he felt himself giving a nod of his head. The waitress, in what looked to be retro garb, turned from leaning against the booth where two men were speaking. Yet this drew his eye to the man facing towards the door, and thus a new sensation of bewilderment flooded his face. "Morning, sugar. What can I get for you?" The woman's words were completely lost on him for a time as he raised an accusatory hand and pointed at the man sitting in the booth. "What are you doing here?" It was a stupid question and drew all the more attention to William standing in the doorway as he glared at the ranger. The ranger that had set into motion some strangeness about his days and nights now. Michael, for his part, gave a cough and then scratched his cheek as he thought through the situation as quickly as possible. Especially considering that everyone in there was a Wolverine, how best would he spend this? "Meeting with a friend and getting some breakfast. You know the Rangers need to eat too." This is when Jonathan turned his head to look, drawing his right arm up over the head of the booth and looking directly at the man. Yet his eyes were tracing all over, the gift of his cast to lock it into memory forever, to be accessed when he needed it. There on his hip he could see the holster with a sidearm. Across the belt he could see an indent where a badge would be clasped. Why wasn't he wearing it at the moment? "And who's your friend, Ranger?" Jonathan asked as the waitress got closer to William. "Someone we should be aware of?" William watched as the waitress came closer, a smile on her face, but one that was hiding a bit of apprehension. She then looked him in the eyes and gave a sniff of the air before tilting her head. This was what Michael wanted to avoid, but he was completely in the back seat of a limo, and in no way could gain further control. Aye. He was the... remember when I said afore I stumbled into things? He be... the thing." Jonathan raised a brow for a moment, but then tilted his own head and narrowed his eyes, looking at the man more intently. He then looked to the waitress, who turned back to the rest of the diner and announced in a calm manner, "Got the smell to him." This made William for a split second turn to sniff at himself, as if trying to suss out an odor. Then he realized something more pressing and looked at everyone else in the diner. Michael knew immediately that the wheels were turning quickly, and so he needed to speak up. "Care to have a seat here, Special Agent? I was just keen on ordering for myself. Me friend here already got himself some feed." William carefully scanned around the room, his right hand coming down to rest on the pistol grip, which made Jonathan furrow his brow. All the people in here were in on it. Why else would the waitress say something so odd? It was decision time. Stay and talk, or get out the door as quickly as he could and into the populace down below. Pros and cons all over the place. Risks all over the place. Jonathan began to draw his left hand to where his memory recalled the knife being for his plate, and he slipped it into his palm. This is when Michael reached over the table and grabbed his wrist. "Nay need. Come join us, Agent. We can have a discussion this morning while we enjoy a meal together." William's eyes turned to the table with the Ranger and the stranger. He realized that Michael was leaning over the table to grab at something, and if he had to guess, it was to stop the stranger. If he bolted now, he could easily make it outside, but at what cost? If he stayed, he was in the den of wolves. Literally. But here he could get more puzzle pieces. Slowly he brought his hand off his sidearm, only then realizing that the two police officers in a booth near the back had their hands on their hips, likely their pistols as well. "I think I shall. Seems I stumbled into something here." With a casual and slow walk, he stepped over towards the table, watching as Michael leaned back in the booth and scooted over so that William could settle in beside him. He didn't protest and instead simply slipped into the booth, his eyes locking with Jonathan's own, who had not left him. The man even gave a sniff of the air. "I thought ye have, William. We were just discussing ye, actually. Nay, but a few minutes ago." "And what was the discussion about?" William asked as his eyes remained locked on what he realized was the most dangerous threat in the entire room. This man with black hair and gray eyes that followed him with such intensity and a clear calmness about him that spoke to one exceptionally focused in tense situations. None of his movements, from turning back around to leaning back in the booth, spoke of one in worry or doubt of what they could do if a situation was to turn violent. He also noticed the man hadn't spoken again once the ranger had been baited on the hook. Well, that be a bit... Well, how much do you know religious matters, Agent? Still, William did not move his attention from the man sitting opposite him, but spoke up calmly. While his world may feel like it was cracking at the seams, his life experience made him used to violence and this sort of tension. Something primal and natural about survival instincts kicking in that brought a strange calmness to him. I can't say I do. I am a firm believer in Meraxis. Isn't that the dragons and such? William wanted to look, but his senses were telling him to focus purely on the man across from him. In a manner of speaking, I assume ye can imagine that a lot of people do believe in him. William's voice came once more, but it was softer, his attention still expressly on the stranger. In this room. These words made the man across the table smirk a little, the barest hint of teeth in it. Ah, yeah, so ye did figure. Well, this was a meeting of sorts. The others here are, associates of mine, so things be tense. But I was speaking to Meraxis, and ye came up. No, William said calmly, but the tension was growing in him as he started to breathe heavier. That strange sereneness he had before was being chipped away when he heard the words. No more strange oddities or impossible statements. It's not impossible, Agent. Your worldview is likely very small. The man across the table had spoken, and he then tilted his head. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jonathan Ulfither. At first, he didn't want to answer back, and then finally, to keep at least the flow of information going, he conceded. Special Agent William Lowell, NDA. At those words, a low grumble came from the diner, added tension in the air as each of the people now didn't even bother hiding that they were all looking at the agent. And what makes you so special? Mikey here says there's something about you. Aye, well, that be complicated. Or nae so complicated, but care needs to be taken. First, I have a question of my own. Why do you all believe any of this? Jonathan smiled some and leaned back in the booth, letting his head rest on the divider for the booth behind him. It is an observable fact. Now back to my question. Observable by whom exactly? By us. That's all that matters. Now to my question. Mikey, why is he so special? Or why is he special? I don't know why I put so in there. Well, he has been having the dreams. Ye all know the ones. This time a voice came up from the police officers. A white officer who tilted his head. Is that true? You dreaming of the forest? William didn't turn his head. Perhaps I have been. Another new voice joined the discussion, this time the cook behind the counter. The wolves as well. So for another piece of the puzzle, these people seemed to be saying the same thing the ranger had said. Was it an obvious thing? Was it truly a shared experience, or was it something else? I heard you say before, Michael, that your kind, which I assume it is clear each person in this room is the same, often use misdirection and manipulation. How do I know if this is not just some manipulation? You can't. Jonathan spoke up this time. It could well be a manipulation from your point of view. From ours, though, that speaks an interesting tale. How long have you had these dreams? Again, another person asking how long. It was a key component. More lies? More obfuscation, or was this all true? He couldn't rule any of it out, but evidence was leaning towards this being factual. It was time to judge the reactions. Would they have the same negative one the Ranger had? 15 years, 2 months, 3 days. He remembered the exact eve he had them, the night after the landing. It had only been when he truly delved into the past and his memories did he recall them. I remember the eve well. It was just after we landed on Isle Hattori. First beach assault I ever took part in. William then looked intently at Jonathan and had a curious sensation. The man that was completely calm and stoic now looked to be panicked. It was as if he was a cornered thing and wanted to find a place to retreat to. This then made the agent turn and look about the diner. Each of them was shuffled back. The police officers had not reached for their sidearms, but were instead eyeing the door themselves. The waitress had retreated behind the counter and laid a hand on the cook, who was edging them near the door to the back storage. An old lady in the corner had placed her book back into her bag and was sitting near the edge of the booth with an eye towards one of the windows nearby. Why is that so bad? The agent asked. His words were not as firm as before, not trying to command anything. Instead, he was more concerned, the fear creeping into his voice, the thing at the back of his head pounding to try and take his attention. Okay, calm yourself, lad. But that be why, to all of ye, that be why, he was nae name specific at first. The Divine Dragon Emperor, though, be wise, beyond anything we could imagine, and he knew one day there would be one who resisted so long. Jonathan took a deep breath and carefully brought a hand to his face, gently rubbing at it as he took the information in before a single word came from his mouth. Fuck. So, let's take this slow and steady, aye, lad? Michael tapped his fingers on the table, thinking where to start. So, as I told ye, and as you saw, I am O'Varon. Jonathan let out a snort and then looked at the Ranger before smiling. Ah, yes. Speak directly to the NDA, and you had the gall to call out my plans. Look, that be different. Your plan is risky. I was trying to cover up the Smiler we killed. Oh, so you were the one that killed the Smiler. Victor wasn't happy. We had planned to kill him ourselves. He had just become a new hire with the company. Are you seriously talking about premeditated murder in front of an NDA agent? William was blown away by the bravado. It should be noted that I'm the one that tore the Smiler's head off, thank you. Sarah spoke up from beside the door and let out a huff before she folded her arms over her chest. Look, you need to stop thinking as an NDA agent. You're one of us. You're kin. Though you scare the hell out of us for now, which will be explained. But you need to understand as well that Smilers are monsters. They were kin but fell to their temptations and turned their back on everyone but themselves. The only good one for the entire safety of the world is a dead one. Now you can potentially bring them back from the abyss. But that requires them wanting to change, which, good luck with that. Aye, he be right, lad. That thing that attacked your base, that was a Smiler. One reeking o' lust he was, which happens to be Jonathan's sin as well. Before you get any idea, I'm not a Smiler. My camp has some ideological differences from Michael's camp, but both camps serve the same theology. It would get complicated, so back to Smilers. They are us, but totally enslaved to their sin. unable to do much outside of seeking it out. Why do you call them smilers? Tat be because o' their smile. It nay be natural. Ye could tell. Their smile is too wide, too big, and yet their eyes look hollow, like they are reveling in themselves, but nae lights to be found upstairs. That sounds like someone I know, actually. What? Who? Where are they? Relax, Jonathan. All in time, aye? For now, when our kind awaken, because o' the compact o' Meraxis, we could tap into great feats o' endurance and strength, fueled by our fury. But the hatred, rage, and malice burns deep. So our awakening is violent and bloody. The longer one resists it, the more devastating the change is. So, Michael gave a slight flourish of his hand towards the agent. Because if true, I have resisted for near half my life. Exactly so. We are concerned about what will happen when you become the real you. Meraxis has a plan, though. He cannot be sure if it works, but an effort is to be made. To guide ye and slowly teach what ye need to know. Perhaps that will lessen the impact, as it were. More and more evidence piling up against the normalcy of the world, which William himself had to confess was anything but the normal most people assumed it. Most people assumed. Ugh. It was very likely this was all true, and he was indeed one of these wolf monsters as well. And maybe that was a poor misconception too. After all, thus far, those he had interacted with were only trying to defend themselves. He hadn't seen this smiler firsthand, but it had seen the devastation he wrought. Well, I guess I can order some food, and we could talk before I need to head to work. One thing I'm curious about, though, Kin. When were you born? Does that matter? It does. Through our people's compact with Mani, the moon or Luna you may have heard her called. When we are born, we are gifted certain things that passively help us in life until we awaken fully and dictate our role. Now, I have a hunch based off what you said before, but you could confirm that. Well, it was Novus 25th, 1990, on Remembrance Day. Jonathan leaned back in his seat and then closed his eyes for a moment. He channeled his cast's gift of recall, which acted as an archive of everything he had seen, heard, and smelled and knew. Each tucked away until needed, and now his search was for the date and moon phases. Like a library unfolding and shifting, the memories needed for that day and time were made present to himself. When he arrived at it, he couldn't help but give a massive smile and looked at William intently. Slowly, Jonathan leaned over the table and extended a hand out towards the agent, the smile still on his face. Then allow me to be the first to greet one born a single eve before the full moon. I welcome a fellow Yalderskald. There you go. Long preview, but that's William's section from the chapter Convergences. Also, if you remember from last time, that's the reason why Michael had said shite under his breath when he saw William, because it was William that came through the door. Okay, so with that in mind, I need to fix some things. said before. Shite's a good word. Love my phonetic curses. Once again, it helps to distinguish Michael apart, right? His manner of speaking, where he intentionally chose not to lose the accent because he just had that little bit of, like, it set him apart, right? Because Michael's sin is pride. Right? He wants to be different. He wants to stand out. So he's taking pride in that fact, right? But that's his sin. Sarah's sin is the one who was the white wolf that helped him fight the Smiler. Her sin is what did I decide for her? I was debating on sloth, but I was like, that doesn't make as much sense because I need her to have displayed it a little bit. But I was debating on her sin being pride as well. But I don't know. Because again, she was poking at Gregory. Gregory's sin is envy, right? The waitress, of course, is lust. The cook is gluttony. The two police officers, their sin is wrath, which we'll get into. I need wrath to be the last one, because William will obviously have a question. And we're like, okay, so question. If your sin is wrath, and Mirax is supposed to stop that, how are you, like, you? And again, it's to make clear that what Mirax is doing is he is cutting off that original sin so that it doesn't damn them from the beginning, right? And then what your choices make after that are your choices. But he's cutting that original sin. But every Wolverine has that original sin, the original sin of wrath. You know what? Yeah, no. Sarah's sin's going to be pride. Yeah. Yeah. I'll keep that marked out. Sarah is gay? No. No, in fact, she has several cubs. But just because you got cubs doesn't mean you're not allowed to work. You're allowed to skip time off work. It's like, nope. Such as the Wolverine, no rest for the weary. Or no rest for the wicked. In technical truth, actually, that would probably work better. Because, again, the original sin, right? And remember, this is, as I keep trying to emphasize with the Wolverine, the Wolverine are inherently good, right? They are a force for good. But good does not mean nice. The Wolverine absolutely do not embody the traditional ideals of nobility and chivalry and all that stuff, right? That's not what they embody. They're much more of a pragmatic good thing, right? They would be the ones where, like, if they caught the Joker, they would just kill him. Because, like, okay, we'll try once the justice system. Joker goes into Arkham, he breaks out. Okay, maybe a fluke. We'll put him back in one more time. Joker breaks out and kills more people again. Alright, that's it. He's dead. No more of this pussyfooting around. Right? Exactly, it's a good way to do it. Oh, speaking of, I wanted to mention. So I'm fleshing out the vampires more as well. I've had them decently fleshed out, but I feel like there needs to be that bit more. You know. Um. So because I was doing the hierarchy of vampires, and originally I wanted it to be like the fresher of a corpse you were, the less powerful you were. And it was more as you delved in and in and in and practiced and stuff like that, you became more powerful, right? And then I decided, what if we do some of the oldest vampire lore that's out there? And you undergo a profane ritual to become a vampire, and you're buried under the soil. And then after a time, I want to say, like after so many decades, maybe a century, right? After 100 years beneath the soil, you dig your way out as a vampire. And these vampires can then turn other people through their blood. They could turn them into vampires, but they are nowhere near as powerful. Basically, you'll have the progenitor vampires, which would be like the clan leaders and everything, right? If you remember in Underworld, as goofy as that movie was, man, that movie does not hold up. Whew! But if you remember Underworld, like these would be the victors and stuff like that, right? The three of the triumvirate that control everything. That's why, and they're like stupidly powerful. Even he in his weakened state, you saw he basically clowns on every other vampire easily. Yeah, the Big Daddy V's. Yep. So if you get turned by a vampire, you're a lesser form, or I just want to call them normal vampires, right? If you are one of the vampires that goes through the profane rite to seek immortality, which remember, that particularly pisses Cortisoth off. So Cortisoth, when this profane rite was being used in searching for immortality, that's why he stepped in and he's like, it'd be a shame if I... Oh, wow, that poor profane rite. Oh, boy. Reap what you sow, asshole. And basically, it instead of giving you immortality, you are still very much mortal. You just have agelessness, but you get a bunch of fucking like downsides to it. No longer eat normal foods. No longer like enjoy certain things. You can walk in the sun, but the sun spurns you. So it like saps your energy and strength. You need to remain in darkness. A lot of vampires start wearing what are known as sunwear. And they become very obvious in big city centers, right? No, because you need to be alive. You can't undergo the profaned rite. The profaned rite needs a living body, right? If you get turned by another vampire, which they're called vampire lords and ladies, the ones that actually underwent the profane rite. If you get turned by one of them, it kills you. You're a corpse. You're a walking corpse. So you can no longer undergo it because it requires a living body to undergo the rite. Also, if it gets interrupted at any point, really bad things will happen. But Cortisoth was essentially like, I'm going to fuck your entire world up. Now, the reason vampires have powers is not because of what Cortisoth did. Cortisoth gave them a bunch of fucking negatives, right? Because he wants them to have that suffering. He doesn't want it to be over and simple. Plus, Cortisoth created the Wolverine species. Meraxus is their patron, right? But Cortisoth's the one that created the Wolverine species. And what is Meraxus and Cortisoth and Storyteller all tell the Wolverines? To defend nature, the spirits, and the natural order. And then part of the natural order is a corpse is a corpse. Kill vampires. The Wolverine have almost nothing but positives, right, to their situation. Almost nothing but positives. Obviously, the compact with Meraxis threw a monkey wrench into that, and nobody realized that was going to happen. The reason Meraxis didn't think that was going to happen at first was because of Dagrix. Dagrix has children and everything. Dagrix has daughters and sons, and they don't suffer it. They don't suffer the wrath, even though Dagrix is literally the physical embodiment of Meraxis' wrath. But his children don't suffer it. So, and then this is when, so when Meraxis does the compact and the Wolverine suffer it, it's literally an unforeseen consequence, right? It's like, oops. Which is why but instead of like pushing off the blame or anything like that, he dedicates himself to becoming their eternal guardian instead. Yeah. So, again, the reason... Now, this is also why vampires suffer the Bane of Silver, too. Silver will fuck a vampire up really bad. Because remember, silver is the metal of truth. Therefore, you're supposed to be a corpse. Die. Wolverine do not suffer the Bane of Silver. Because Wolverine are Wolverine. It's their species. That's their truth. They literally are Wolverine. But again, so Cordyceps gives vampires nothing but downsides, nothing but negatives. But vampires have all these powers and capabilities. That's because in order to perform the profaned rite, you had to have been a really strong spellcaster in your own right. Right? Like you don't get to perform that ritual until you're a really strong fucking spellcaster yourself. Ergo, all of the Big Daddy Vs, the Lord and Lady vampires, are incredibly powerful spellcasters before they did the rite. So they keep that knowledge. It's just now their magic, as part of the twisting of things, Cordyceps made their magic powered through their own essence, essentially. Which... that might sound like, oh, well, you've made it to where I now can safely cast spells with my own essence. It's like, you don't understand, right? He cut you off from the capability of casting normal magics. You cannot tap into any of the normal magics anymore. Anything you do cast literally takes chunks of yourself with it. So... you're a powerful spellcaster, but now your spellcasting is essentially like getting you closer and closer to fulfilling what you should be. So it reminds me of the process of becoming a lich. Lich is different because that is actually, unfortunately, because Meraxis unlocks the secret. Again, unintended consequences, unintended, problems, but he unlocks the secret of soul tethering, and he uses it to kill one of the gods. Because the god of war was being particularly meddlesome with Drakor and the divine dragon, so he was like, fuck it, I know what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna soul tether your ass to your own avatar, so I'm gonna pull your divine soul from the heavens down to where your avatar is, wherever that might be, and I'm gonna kill your fucking avatar with you in it. But because he unlocked that, it meant it was possible to be unlocked by other people, right? Welcome, Mouse. Sadly, I can't. Your chat won't show up on screen because Twitch chat is being weird. I can't pop out Twitch chat for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, Mouse is over on Twitch right now. Says, I raise you a Shihan on Warpath. Places in attack mode. Yeah. Yeah, so again, because Meraxes proved it was possible, it opened up the door, and a certain wizard figures out that he can soul tether his soul to an object instead of needing a physical body, and he makes a lich, right? And he's like, Meraxes realizing that he's the reason liches exist as well, and he's just like, oh, son of a bitch. He's like, I'm just trying to make nice things here, okay? I'm trying to make nice things, and things keep happening. Ooh, you bastard bitch shit fuck. Son of a lich. Yep. Sidestepped in from Twitch. Hi all. Welcome, Mouse. Yeah, Mouse decided to sidestep. He went through the spirit wilds and he appeared over in YouTube. Yeah, give me one moment, guys. I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick, and then again, we'll get to more. I'll do another preview, and we'll get to where I'm at, and I'm, like, working things in and everything, right? So, yeah, I will be right back. Why can't you be normal? BRB. Oh no, I feel called out. I feel called out. On my second cup of coffee with 2 to 3 hours of sleep, the urge to binge a game. Anyways, Lich. Last time I fought a Lich in Mabinogi, I got a meteor dropped on my head and instantly downed by a follow-up Thundercast. Ooh. So I fought a Lich was in WoW, but scaling that game means at my level I could slap him with a fish and he'd melt. Accurate. I started playing WoW again, by the way. Ooh. Well done, Mouse. Mouse is talking about in Project Gorgon. But I started playing WoW again. But not Blizzard's WoW. Nope. I told him, fuck you. I'm playing a private server. So Blizzard doesn't get shit from me. And it's a private server that actually has werewolfism in it. Like, genuine werewolfism. The Worgen aren't a race there, right? The Worgen aren't a race, technically. Yet. Oh, never mind. Condolences rescinded. Congratulations rendered. Yeah. So this server... Yep, it's Server's Ascension. Hang on, I'll show you. Sips coffee, intensity escalating. Right. Here, unironically, I went and there's a thing you have to do, right? There's a thing you have to do. You actually have to go to a specific area. You have to go into Horde territory and stuff like that. And you have to go to a village that is all made up of werewolves. Right? And they come out at a certain time of the day. Hold on. I gotta make sure you guys don't see this. Okay. So. Remember, this is a classless system as well, but yeah. Right. So, see? This is me. Right? Slowly getting our way up there. But, it literally has real werewolfism. Yeah! Again, true and actual werewolfism. But you need to, in order to get it, you need to come get a curse. You need this. The Curse of Aurgal. Ain't bought by NPCs and fucked every day. Perfect. Yeah, so this, I was just trying out on this server and everything, so yeah. Aw, shit, you needed to hike to Silver Pine from Allied territory? Fucking yep. Yeah, this literally changes cat form into, it makes it a werewolf form. However, you can do bear form, all your forms change to werewolf, basically, right? It's just now it's getting off of cat form, which makes it a agility-based one. Which, again, you can also pick what your primary stat is. And it'll try to give you item drops with that stat. But again, so see, you can dip into every single class. Yeah. I like it. Again, I went for a thematic build, right? So I've got, we're going to have Wolf Pet as our thing from Hunter. And then I took stuff from, like, Shaman so I could, whoop! Hey, look at me, I'm in my Ulfer form. Woo! Woo! Again, thematic. I went for a thematic look. Yeah. Anyways, chat. Ulf maxing. Yep. Yeah, so, chat, while I was sitting on the toilet, I had toilet thoughts. right? Those moments that are like shower thoughts when you're just sitting in the shower and you can just sit there and think for a while. And you just have that moment of like brilliance. I'm going to change something about vampires. A slight tweak. They can go in the sun, but the sun starts rotting them, which is what makes them weaker in sunlight because they have to expend energy to keep from rotting. Okay? Yes. Yes. Got the Rodin's thinker moment, exactly. I'm going to put that in literature and writing now. So, vampires in Saqqara can go in sunlight, but it begins to rot them. Oh, and I also had a thing for silver. I'm going to talk about silver here in a second. The Bane of Silver hits them different, too, when it comes to their reflection. But it begins to rot them. Thus, they have to expend their vital essence to keep from falling apart, thus making them weaker in sunlight and seeking shadows and shade. And why some vampires wear day suits, which makes them stand out, but if they are in a rural populace, etc. So, the Bane of Silver, right? We talked about how the Bane of Silver, because of Cordysoth's curse that is placed on all vampires, they suffer the Bane of Silver because they should be dead. Right? They did the profane rite to seek immortality. Instead, they become dead. Okay? Yep, that's literally what this is. Vampires in Saqqara can wear what are known as day suits. But it's pretty fucking obvious. You'll be the weirdo that's in like a full tracksuit with a balaclava on and goggles and, you know, gloves, and it looks very obvious. You don't splend in at all. You're not subtle. But you won't be rotting, so you'll have your strength and everything. But being subtle is kind of needed because Wolverine exists. All the other shifters exist. And protecting the natural order is a thing that all the shifters have as kind of their divine mandate. So, you not being subtle is going to get the attention of shifters, who are going to look at you like, time to give some holy proclamations. Come here, little leech. I'm cosplaying Rorschach. Fuck off. But, okay, now, the Bane of Silver. Let's talk about the Bane of Silver. Remember, the Wolverine do not suffer the Bane of Silver. However, silver is a metal of truth. So all silver will reflect true. So in a silver mirror's reflection, or a shined up piece of silver's reflection, Wolverine will always look like their true form, the big werewolf. They will always look like the werewolf. Now, a vampire, because of the curse of Cordysoth, I wanted to where vampires don't show up at all in silver mirrors. Again, we're incorporating that old myth, right? The old lore of vampires, where vampires do not show in a mirror's reflection. I want that to be the thing in the silver's reflection. Because Cordysoth's curse literally, like, is going to render them out of existence if they die again, right? They're not immortal or anything. They're very much mortal. They get to know it. And if they die, they are, like, erased from existence. Therefore, in silver's reflection, they won't appear. And I think that's very fucking clever. I don't know, chat. Do you agree? Would you agree with that? That's really fucking clever to reincorporate some old vampire lore. Vampires have no reflection in silver because Cortus Curse is going to erase them from existence when they meet that second death. Yeah. Then now, and again, they'll appear in all normal reflections. Remember, Jennifer Woods, when she pulled up the makeup mirror and it was silver, she saw the werewolf, right? When she turned and looked back and she saw the reflections in the glass and everything around him, she saw Michael Wolf. She didn't see his true form. Because remember, silver is the metal of truth. And this also ties into why silver is the metal of truth. Silver is associated directly with the moon. In a lot of like lores and religions and mythology, silver is tied directly to the moon. I want to keep that tradition of silver being tied to the moon, but it's because Mani uses it to always know who she is. Right? Because remember, her mood is so wildly different depending on which phase she's in. She uses silver as an anchoring point, right? Like this is what I am. I am this. When she looked at him, she saw Michael Wolf. When she looked in the mirror, she saw Michael's wolf. Yeah, basically. And remember, she jokes about it too. Okay, Mr. Wolf with one F. Yeah. Also, I wanted to where... So this is how we're going to set up all the different houses of vampires, right? Each house of vampires is directly underneath one of these vampire lords and ladies. And they struggle with each other for food sources, for land areas, hunting grounds, secrets that they hold and everything. Because they all have to hide from the Wolverine. They have to hide from the Wolverine particularly, but all shifters. Because when a shifter finds a vampire, there is like there is a subconscious need to destroy them, right? Now this is the same thing as false ulfers, right? Yeah. Pixar didn't happen. What? By the way, because nobody's ever said that before in the chat, I don't get to use that joke nearly enough, right? Always the joke is Pixar didn't happen, right? When somebody says they're going to do some like, I'm going to do some wild shit, watch this. It's like, Pixar didn't happen. And all the time in like chat rooms and everything, somebody be like, well, I got to go get a shower. And I'm always like, Pixar didn't happen. Oh my god. Oh, the funniest one was my buddy. He sent me. He's like, Pixar didn't happen, huh? You gonna call me stinky? You gonna call me stinky? I'm like, yeah, you're stinky. You don't shower. And so he sent me the picture. Hold on, I gotta find it so you guys can see. It's fucking great. Hold on. Hold on. Where is it? And if nobody's seen this before, you're welcome. So this is what he sent me to prove that he totally took a shower. Hold on. And if you've never seen this before, you're fucking welcome. What's up?
Alien versus Predator extinction.
You bastard bitch shit fuck! you bastard bitch shit fuck! Oh my god. Oh. Again, if you've never seen that, you're fucking welcome. It's so good. Explains the entire lore of the series, how it all got started. Alien was taking a shower and the Predator could not let that stand, and so flushed the toilet. Oh my god. Hashtag spite. Oh my god. Mouse sent me a stock image of a dude taking a shower. It even has all the watermarks all over it and everything. Oh my god. Oh. Fucking accurate. Okay. Right, where do we want to jump to here so we can do some more work? Okay. Okay. William was strangely fascinated, and his stomach was incredibly grateful as another bit of egg and ham disappeared into his mouth. This entire situation was a complete roller coaster of feelings, up and down, rocking side to side. More evidence filtering in, and strange discussion in a room filled with nearly nothing but strangers. So, each of you... Us? Well, each of you has a sin you embody or is a part of you? Isn't that every being? Like, what do you mean? Excuse me, hold on. It isn't some metaphysical thing. It is a genuine temptations for us. As we said, the compact with Meraxis rather accidentally makes each of us awaken with original sin. But there is also a sin each of us is drawn to in addition. It's like, because the door was opened, any other sin we had within us gets moved to the front of the line as well. And yet, you all still worship Meraxis. It were an unintended consequence, lad. That be why there be a ideological divide, too. Meraxis watches over us intently, protects us from that original sin because it should be one we are innocent of. Wolverine should awaken in full control, but Well, how does he watch over us? William weighed that final word, thinking on it carefully, judging how it felt to say. It was odd, but it didn't feel wrong. Well, as was said, when we change, we experience the rage. Merax's divine wrath channeled down into a mortal body directly. Each of us awakens into a tragedy we cannot stop. Each of our tales is personal to us, and to hear of how one experienced that awakening is a deep sharing of trust. Meraxus feels whenever one of us awakens, and he ensures that the sin of wrath doesn't immediately damn our souls. And before you ask, we know because we get to visit our ancestors. That last comment gave a tug at William, who stopped eating and looked at Jonathan intently. You mean to say I could speak with my family again? A quietness came over the diner as everyone waited for what would be said next. Aye, lad. That be one o' the gifts of our kind. The cross between the realms, the cross between man and wolf. We could speak to those that have gone before us. William took in that knowledge with a heavy sigh, and drew his hand up and through his hair, before he nodded his head. He wanted so badly for that to be true. Perhaps it was. So much evidence was weighing in favor of all of this. He didn't want to dwell on that for now. He needed to push past it and not get stuck. How do you know what sin you have? As I said, it's like it gets pulled to the front. My sin is lust. Around the room, some of the people raised their hand to speak, each sharing what sin they had. My sin is pride, Sarah spoke up. My sin is envy, Gregory said beside her. Lust, said the waitress. Gluttony, said the cook. And that's where we're at right now. So we're having to go along the room. The old woman carefully tapped her hands at the table. Yeah, here, I'll just switch over so you guys can see. This is where we're at. Whoops. This is where we're at right now. Right here. 129 pages. 129 pagerunos. Old woman carefully tapped her hands at the table before she finally spoke up. Oh. My sin is avarice. Finally, the two police officers looked at each other and then looked to the agent booth. We both share the sin of wrath. Well, how does that work then? Doesn't Praxis stop at sin? If you had wrath before, should not allow that. Nay, lad. Part of the compact we now have. Now have with him. He will nae let a single Wolverine ever join the shifting hells of wrath. He won't let a single one of our kind walk the ways of hatred, rage, and malice. That he swears to us. Should we fall into wrath and become a smiler, he destroys them instantly and utterly. Alright. Yeah, so again, that's the whole concept of, like, he'll stop the original sin of wrath, because he knows that the compact is enforcing wrath. So he'll stop that. He'll wipe the slate clean there, right? He will wipe that slate clean for you. But you can fall to wrath still. Just because he stopped that initial one, you can still be wrathful. You can still become a smiler of wrath. If you do, though, like, it particularly annoys Meraxis to the point that he immediately obliterates any smiler of wrath. Like, their soul is wiped out. He doesn't tolerate their existence. Remember, this is still set before the Grand War, right? Well, okay. It's set during the Grand War. The Grand War is technically thousands of wars, and they're all wars against the Shifting Hells. And again, the universe as a whole needs to win every single one of these wars. The Shifting Hells just need to win once. If they win once, it's game over. But right now, there is no Grand War going on at the moment. But again, the only reason the Grand War is even possible is, again, unintended consequences. When Meraxis destroyed Zaramis, and to keep him from reforming, absorbed him into himself, thus sealing the concord between himself and the Shifting Hells, where Meraxis is now the actual embodiment of wrath. Right? So Meraxis controls the Shifting Hell of wrath. He controls the planes of hatred, malice, and rage. Which he then immediately wipes clean. So the Shifting Hells of wrath are a very desolate, barren, and empty place. Now, the one thing he can't wipe clean is the drowning above the Shifting Hells, right? The drowning exists. It is a concept that's always there. And that comes from the rather horrific ideals of what the people of Averall thought of the Hells, right? Spread throughout all the cultures like a meme. The original tradition of the meme, the word meme, right? So the Shifting Hells now forever have the drowning as part of them. It has been cemented too much into all the ideologies, all the folk tales and everything. The Shifting Hells start with the drowning. And for those that don't know what the drowning is there is no sky in the Shifting Hells, right? The thing way above their heads is an endless sea. And all the peoples of the world, when they die, go into the drowning. If they had sins, right? If they were a bad person, essentially. You get pulled into the drowning. And then you are there forever, drowning, desperately clawing your way through a mass of bodies to get to the top for those brief breaths of air before somebody else doing the same thing you're doing pulls you under so they can get to the top and take a breath. And that is the drowning. That is what the sky of the Shifting Hells is. An embodiment of the Hells can pluck people from the drowning, but it's essentially going from the frying pan directly into the 5-alarm fire, right? The drowning becomes almost a pleasant reprieve from what the Shifting Hells themselves actually are. Even ones that sound like they would be more tame or mundane, like the Shifting Hells of Sloth, right? Even though that sounds like it wouldn't be so bad, sloth, as I said, it's the constant wearing down of a person, where it wants you to lay down, it wants you to relax, it wants you to, stop moving. And you see what happens. You see all of these other people that have done that have given in to their slothful nature. And you see the roots that dig up through their bodies and is pulsating through and constantly envenomating them, and they're writhing in agony, but they can no longer move. They're stuck to the grounds wherever they rested their head. It's not a good place. None of the hells are a good place, as they should be, right? The shifting hells of wrath originally was an unending war zone, right? Not because there weren't any factions either. It was unrestricted hatred everywhere. Unrestricted. You could have alliances of convenience in a moment, but the person hated you just as much as you hated them. You're killing and working together for a time, but you're going to turn around and kill that motherfucker here soon. So it's more like a chaotic mass riot. There's no reason, there's no logic behind it. It is pure malice, right? Yeah. And again, when you don't die, right? So people in the hells get creative with how vindictively horrible they get to each other. Right? The sheer level of pettiness and spite they would put into their punishments of each other because they hated each other that much. So it's not just like, oh, I cut your head off and I move on to the next guy. It's like, no. No, I need you to suffer. And again, it's that feedback loop. Because you've suffered, you want others to suffer now, and it loops on and on and on and on and on and on, right? Envy is probably, again, envy smilers and demons and everything like that are the most terrifying of them. Because they are the manipulators, the schemers, the gaslighters, right? They're the poison whisperer. They're the grim of worm tongues, right? Their envy leads them to do horrific things to tear down those they think are unjustly above them. Like, how dare you be happy? You think you're better than me? Like, I will ruin you just because, out of pure spite. So envy smilers are the most terrifying ones. They're the ones you have to be very careful of, because they can put up an air of not being a smiler to an extent, right? They can have alliances, massive fucking air quotes on that. But again, it's all to destroy and render things down or get what they want, right? They can't help themselves. And same thing with pride. Pride is the easiest one to deal with because pride smilers do stupid things. Their pride demands it of them, right? It's like, well, I'm the strongest and the biggest. I'm going to go attack that entire tribe by myself. I know I'll win because I'm the strongest and the biggest. So pride ones are the easiest ones to deal with. Well, I suppose in terms of fighting, like figuring them out. Sloth ones are technically the easiest because they lay down and they'll die themselves eventually. Because they grow to like extreme levels of apathy very quickly. So they're kind of a self-correcting problem. But, yeah. Alright. No. Hang on, wait. Let's, before we do finally. Oh, here, let's go in here. William. And turned his focus back for a moment as Michael let out a long sigh and looked at him. My sin is also pride. It was a moment of shame for Michael to admit it fully, but it was part of who he was. Finally, the two police officers looked at each other and then looked to the agent. It's going to want me to do at the agent. I'll fix it. Looked at the agent in the booth. We both share the sin of wrath. Okay. Why would he not just do that for all the sins then? Whoop. He doesn't like the divine being so intimately tied to the mundane. People should be allowed to make their choices. I hate when I do that. I did intimately with two eyes. I bathe in the rivers of Erebus. Oh, you went into the silver. Man, you thought you were going to take a shower. No, you're like, I'm going to be gone for a couple hundred years, maybe 1,000, and I'll be back. Let's make their choices. He protects from the original sin and will not let any Wolverine join the hells of wrath because of that. Whoop. But it is on us to be strong. That be correct. That be the teachings of Meraxus. The ideals of the weak, the wicked, and the strong. But that gets into a whole new can of worms. For now, I believe it best we not overwhelm me with everything at once. I agree. But I want to be involved as well. Now, lad, that's not be what Meraxus decreed. Oh, did he say that Jonathan can't be involved? Can't help? Can't make sure William here is doing all right? Nay, but it's settled. Alrighty. Yes. Good. Good. Okay, so how now? How now, brown cow? I looked between of them and went back to eating breakfast. Whatever further in a day, He still... he felt a new sense of calm over him. Learning of these things and slow to fill the blanks of his own life. Yet this also made him realize if all of these were so terrified of his awakening, perhaps he should resist it still for just a bit longer. Just until, just to ensure as much precaution as possible. Again, this is also part of like why, well, William's now becoming more accepting, right? So, think of it this way. It becomes that whole thing, like, William's becoming more accepting of himself, right? And more accepting of this idea that he is a Wolverine. So then why doesn't he, like, pop, right? Well, this is why. Again, this is the second time, only this time it's a much larger group of all of them being very, like, ugh. Ugh. So, he's making a new resolute vow to himself. He's like, I'll hold off on it for now, longer, just to ensure an easing of things, right? Just to make sure things aren't like as chaotic. He wants things to be calmer, smoother. Let it be, you know, let things settle, right? Imagine Embracer getting so intoxicated on luxury alcohol that the wrath is at its peak and the Smiler was in the wrong place, wrong time. It's probably how Shihan was found. So is Shihan, I thought you wanted them to have lust as their sin. Because again, you wouldn't need wrath to kill a Smiler, right? But you could have the intoxication from the alcohol loosens the inhibitions, and you're like, instead of planning on how to kill this Smiler, you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna send it. Come here. Fuck it, I'm just sending it. How to kill a Smiler very messily, very quickly. No, it's not. Remember, you have to do it very quickly. Yeah, but then how do you trigger, that then becomes Anti-Boy Scout. How do you then trigger the crack, right? How do you then trigger the pop? Because it has to be, the moment has to trigger it, right? You can't just, like, enforce and make yourself angry and angry and angry and then freak the fuck out. That won't trigger the awakening. You'll just go into dehydration and eventually die. Again, if you want to trigger the awakening, it's the moment that has to happen. Because of the compact, because of that original sin, it's waiting to utilize the sin, right? That's what it's waiting for. Unfortunately, now the awakening has been tied into the sin. That's why Meraxas in particular says he's so sorry, because that's not how it's supposed to be. All the other shifters awaken in full control of themselves. No. As Jonathan just explained, what it is that each Wolverine, because you're a living being, every living being has a sin within them. There are some sins that call stronger to living beings than others, right? And that comes down to each individual person. So he says, because the door gets kicked open during the awakening by the sin of wrath, your other sin, if you have it, jumps to the front of the line, right? So then you become painfully aware of the other sin that is your primary. Yep. Now, some their primary sin was wrath. And they're the ones like the police officers, for example, right? Both the police officers said, "Hey, my primary sin was wrath." Hey, Rango. Unfortunately, Twitch chat is broken. I can't pop out Twitch chat for some fucking reason, so it's not going to be in the display on the stream. Unfortunately, just it is what it is. It's the hand we've been dealt. Twitch being twitchy, yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. The thing about embracers, though, embracers, like, they use their primary sin as a coping mechanism, right? That's why embracers have really high morale. Embracers also need to be in a position where they can indulge in said sin, so there's going to be population centers, right? Jonathan has killed a smiler that way before. Like, Jonathan has unironically killed a smiler that way before. He has slept with a smiler, and then, like, as their guard was down, he blew their head off with a shotgun. Now, technically, he didn't want to use the shotgun. He wanted to use the blade, but then he realized the smiler had the same thought process, and again, it's all about speed. Rapid. For all Wolverine, because Wolverine are incredibly durable. So if you don't go quickly, So he had the shotgun as a backup measure in case he pulled it out from the side of the bed frame and he just blew their head off before they could shift. Again, Jonathan will fight. He'll fight any way to destroy a smiler. Any way he can. Mine would absolutely be lust. 100%. I have wrath for sure, but mine's 100% lust. For sure. Anyways. So. And it's the whole thing we talked about before, where we talked about the differences between the groups, right? What each one is. So the disciplined are spiritual, enlightened, and have mastery. The disciplined, because they try to cast off all of it, they are much calmer, or they're more like, they have more time to dedicate to the spirits in the natural world. But because they also have that time, they can dedicate themselves into mastering skill sets. Embracers, because they go to where they need to indulge in their sin, which gives them much higher morale than disciplined. Disciplined are usually, very miserable, right? They're very like, But embracers aren't. Embracers are a lot more full of energy and a lot more like positive, because they get to indulge in their sins a little bit. But again, they do it in moderation, right? So the three words to describe them is they're physical, moderation, and balanced. Now, physical because they do much more fighting. So in terms of RPG mechanics, here's what you have. You have the disciplined, which would gain bonuses to skills, everything, right? Technical skills. So, like, they might have better computer usage. They might have better lockpicking. They have better hacking. They have better driving capabilities, things like that, right? They can dedicate themselves, and they have time to dedicate themselves to a skill set. So they get bonus points into getting more skills. The embracers get more bonus points into combat because they spend so much more time on the front lines. They are so much more coming into conflict with the smilers and the demonic and everything. They get bonuses to combat skills. So technical skills versus combat skills. So they get bonuses in hand-to-hand fighting, in throws and grapples and things like that. they're better at using firearms and stuff like that because they have to do it so often. They have to fight so much more often. So the Embracer's battle sense is much higher. But again, they're the same side. Both of them the same side. The Discipline and the Embracers, they may butt heads a lot with each other because nobody has the correct answer. Because there is no correct answer for how do you save the soul of the Wolverine people. So there is no right way to do it. There is no supreme, like, this is the exact right way. So they butt heads with each other, but they're on the same side. An Embracer would never try to kill a Disciplined. A Disciplined would never try to kill an Embracer, but they may come to blows with each other at times and get angry and upset with each other. But they don't really want to destroy each other, right? For a non-Wolverine, the correct answer is launch them into the sun. Well, you have all the other shifters, too. And again, the other shifters, because they aren't born in original sin, they are in control when they change, when they have their first change. It's painful still, because again, it's the body essentially unfolding into what it's supposed to be. So it's still incredibly painful. But that's not a thing that can be helped, right? That's just the way it is. You get used to it and you get faster at changing the more you do it. Snap, crackle, pop. That's the sound of everything. Immense screaming from pain. Imagine handing out special cards to the Disciplined as a bartender. I'm a dry nun, no alcohol. Some of the Embracers have gotten a little more, let's say, they do a little bit of trolling with their embrace. So there are some of the Embracers that their sin is lust and they become nuns and monks and stuff because the idea of it is a little more exciting. Because it's not supposed to be that way, right? And when I say nuns, I mean more in the generalized sense, right? Because each race technically has its own religion and everything like that. The overarching, the one that's the most potent and powerful is the Divine Dragons, right? And that's because they're closer to the truth. Because the Divine Dragons, acknowledge Severus's existence. I mean, Nun was one of the most popular porn searches. But Smiling Wolf Studios also looks at them like, stop it. Like, okay, I get it. Woo, kinky, nice, but stop it. Because again, you're hurting other people in that regard, right? If you want to play it out in a safe environment, go for it. But don't actually go to these fucking monasteries and things like that and do that shit. That's not cool. Yeah, so again, Michael Wolff's sin again is pride as well. So that's why he was noting that if he could reveal where this convergence was, he would go up in standing, right? And he had that temptation there for it, and he had to remind himself, no, don't do it. It's fine. It's already been earmarked for someone else. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to listen to what Meraxas says. But there was still that temptation there for him. Well, Smilers might murk you because you're stepping in on their turf. Again, Smilers don't work together, they lose that sense of camaraderie. They lose that sense of empathy and everything. To be a smiler is to be self-indulgent, right? And that's the universal truth of all of them. You don't give a shit about any of the others. You don't care about like, hey, I want to do this, or that, right? I want to do this for you and things like that. You don't give a shit. You're a smiler. You're fully self-absorbed. That's why what Jonathan says is true. You can potentially bring a smiler back from the abyss, and you can make a smiler into a non-smiler again. But it requires the smiler themselves to want to change, which is good luck. I'm bad in picturing that Simpsons bit, the religious cartoon, the Flanders watch. I wish I had a sin to confess. You do, the sin of envy. Only with this powerful dragon instead of a goat or something. Yeah, that is part of the point too. Again, remember, envy ones are the most dangerous. Always remember, envy is the most dangerous, by far. Always be wary of the envy smilers. And especially envy demons and everything, right? That, like, holy fuck. That's another thing, too, is a lot of the people... Remember, this is not the first one. William is asking the same thing that Jennifer asked. Is like, wait, you worship Maraxus? Isn't that a dragon thing? And Michael originally, for Jennifer, was like, we're associated with the dragons. And now here, all of them are like, yeah, no, we have compacts with Maraxus. It's that whole concept of why... Okay, so this is going to get into more into the lore thing. Because the gods are more apparent here, it's why atheists are considered far more, like, mad. Right? Where in reality, a lot of them just want to be like, I want to be left alone to my own devices. I don't want fate or the cosmos or anything dictating what I do, right? Nope, not were-dragons. Were-dragons don't exist. But yeah. But again, they are with it because Cortisoth is the creator of the Wolverine race. And he did that by repurposing the curse that he had gotten, which was known as the Curse of the Wolverine, on Sakara. So he repurposes that because he has the gift of true sight. He can literally see every aspect of it. So he repurposes it, and he creates a new race. And he originally did that for the game Lost Frontiers. Maraxus, though, becomes the patron of the Wolverine. Yeah. You know, if I had to live in that world, I think I'd cause a lot of trouble. Smiler. Strong men are strongest alone. Have you ever heard that? Yeah. It's like, oh. Everyone else. That's not the saying. That's the opposite of what the saying is. Yep. But again, the point that Maraxus is very... His religion is a lot more pragmatic, too. Remember, his religion is the idea of the weak, the wicked, the strong. And you can't have a thing be strong if it's made up of the weak. Like, by being made up of the weak will pull it down into being weak. You have to be strong. Strong is strong. There is no substitute for it. So, his whole idea is the trifecta. There's only 3 existences in reality. You have the weak, the wicked, the strong. The weak are those that wallow in their weakness. They don't want to be stronger. They want things done for them. They just want to exist, right? And we all know those people. Those people that are like, oh, why do you need to do that? Oh, that's too much work. And the guy's like, I've got too much to do already, and things like that. They're the weak. They're the sheep, right? The ones that are led around. The strong are anybody that starts taking responsibility for themselves, right? Like it would absolutely be like it's sorry, I started reading what Mouse said. It's absolutely that like I'm taking control of things myself. You don't need to be physically strong. Jennifer Woods carrying that taser, that stun gun, and carrying that bear spray, she's starting to take responsibility for her own safety, right? She's on the path to becoming strong. Not physically so, but she's taking responsibility for herself. Now, the weak always fear the strong and try to shackle them. This is the ideals of nobility and chivalry, right? These are the people that are like, oh, you're strong, you have to protect the weak. That's part of what being strong is. You know, that's part of it. The strong protect the weak. No, that's just entitlement. The weak deserve no such protection. Right? You're not entitled to being protected. If somebody that's strong chooses to protect you, that's the difference. They choose to do it. They have the right to choose because they're taking things into their own hands. They're standing up for themselves. They are being strong. And that's the other difference too, is that the weak can become strong by choosing to be strong. You can make that a conscious choice. But the weak just mule and whine and stuff like that. It's like, you're so powerful, so therefore you should do this. You're at a better place and things like that. No, that's pure entitlement. Yep. And again, that can be how it starts, right? They got that. That's how that can be how it starts. They want to protect who they care about first. It's a selfish desire. They want to protect their family, their loved ones. They want to provide for them. And that's how you start going up the path of being strong. And eventually that could branch out to, well, I want to protect my neighbors. I want to protect my community, my city. Yep. And that's the whole point, too, is that Mirax is on a scale of it, right? Oh, yeah, no. Bear spray works incredibly fucking well against the Wolverine, as Jennifer Woods displayed against the Smiler. Bear spray fucks them up real good. And it's because they have heightened senses, right? All those heightened senses are now screaming in agony. Here, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you're immune to the burning sensation. The smells and sensations, the tastes of it and everything. That's what throws them off, right? It gets mentioned here. Should be up here. Like, I think I can just go right up here at the top of understanding. All right. Jack sat quietly in the tub of hot water, all while the brush was worked through the fur on the back of his head. It had been the first time he had felt comfortable for the week, the first time he even allowed anyone to touch him. Michael would check in on him from every now and then. Oh my God. Stop trying to self-correct. Just go with what's written first. Michael would check in on him every now and then, but it was the others, some of them like him, most not, that were there with him the most. Another dump of hot water was drawn from a pool nearby, and the brush scrubbed at his fur some more. I have a question. The woman currently scrubbing his back now stopped and leaned around. Well, go ahead. That's what we're here for. And you finally starting to talk is a good sign. Jack brought his hands up and looked at them for a long time, before he then slowly opened and closed them, his mind debating on what to ask now that he had finally broken his silence. Why do you not use soap? Ah, well, I suppose that would be an interesting question. While we are, of course, capable of recognizing people outright by their appearance, and even the wolves themselves, wolves rely heavily on scent for identification markers. It's why when we bathe wolves, we do not use soaps and shampoos and such. We clean off the grime and muck like they naturally would in the wild so they can keep their scent. So, it's helpful not to? In this instance, sure. Now, if you were to say be going in the city often or something, needs must to blend in. But when out here amongst the wolf pack, it's far better for you to have your scent easily identifiable so the wolves know who you are at all times. Does that mean Michael, the ranger, wouldn't... No, don't be silly. He's a wolverin. I'm talking about the actual wolves we keep around. They are family, kin to us. Wait, you don't mean like real kin, right? Yeah, that's part. That part is the part that made a lot of us a bit wary, but it is the truth. They are the genetic backup for the wolverin should the worst come to pass, a safety net to keep the species going. Even so, the fact they can is a bit off-putting. The woman let out a laugh and nodded. Indeed, but that is part of their species. Each shifter has the same emergency genetic backup to add further survivability to them. There are more of them? A few, yes. Most common are the foxes, the sharks, the bears, the ravens. She started to trail off in thought while she continued to scrub at his fur with the brush. And they each can take that hybrid shape, like what I look like now compared to the wolves. 2 wolves. That is the truth of it, though they can also take a full animal shape. But the wolverin are special. Because of the 5 phases, 5 common phases of Mani, they are gifted their castes and the 5 shapes they could take. You'll find the number 5 is very important to wolverin culture. Wait, they can take 5 different shapes? You know what, we'll stop there for now, right? The point being was that wolves, and this is true in the wild as well, wolves have a scent to themselves, and that's how they identify each other, right? That's how they identify who each other is. If you bathe a wolf and you use soaps and shampoos, you remove the scent markers off of them. It actually is very traumatizing to the wolf as well because they can't smell themselves anymore. Wolves have a very heightened increase of sense of smell. So if you use bear mace, it doesn't matter if they're immune to capsaicin. That smell is going to play havoc to their senses. Just the smell of it is like... Let's see. Bartender Shihan adopting a fearful human into the backstage because it's the right thing to do, and the reputation of the place, while he racks the shotgun's chamber with silver ball bearings. Again, remember, wolverin do not suffer the bane of silver, and silver is a very poor metal for like actual combat, right? If you use a silver sword on things that don't have the bane of silver, it's just silver, so it's a very malleable metal. It doesn't hold its edge well. It doesn't hold a shape well. It's very, very much flimsy. This actually gets used in a manga I know of, where a main character he died in real life. It's one of those isekais, but he becomes a werewolf, right? He becomes a werewolf, and the werewolves continue to spread the lie that werewolves are, like, horribly allergic to silver, and it'll do horrible, terrible things to them. because when people use silver against them, it's much less painful than a normal sword because silver is so malleable. So it stabs into them, but it doesn't hurt as much. It might bend the tip. It can't be used multiple times. You know what I mean? So they spread that rumor and falsehood specifically to get people to do it, but it also gives people away. Like, why are you stockpiling so much silver? That's suspicious. One would think you might be wanting to kill your werewolf overseers. Wow. Okay, that's it. You're going to prison. Again, I think that's very clever. And the same thing here, I'm using a similar thing here, where the Wolverine keep up the pretense that silver is dangerous, because silver is a lot less dangerous for them. But if people stockpile silver, it actually will work against the undead vampires and everything, right? Yep. Yep. 100%. The story, the one I'm talking about is he becomes what was that story? I know I have it saved. Hold on a second. There's a lot of other things I don't want you guys to see. So yeah, make sure we're not on that screen. Manga and comics. I'm pretty sure I have it here. I have so many of these. It's unreal. Ah, yes, the work folder. No, very much. There's going to be a lot of werewolfy stuff in there. A lot of stuff in there. Like the White Wolf's Bride. This beast stays awake all night. The Witch and the Beast. Which, The Witch and the Beast made me disappointed because there's only one werewolf in it, even though they started making like there was a whole big thing of like werewolves and stuff. But that was just because there was and it was a vampire that was moon-blooded, and so he turns into a werewolf instead. And it's like, dude, his werewolf form does look badass, though. I will 100% concede. Werewolves that actually look badass are awesome, and his werewolf form does look fucking badass. But very disappointed, and the fact that the beast is not a werewolf, and I was like, oh. Did I not save it? Surely I would have thought I saved it. For sure. I basically save every single fucking manga and manhwa and everything I watch. Just because. Read. Just because. So I can go back. That's how I read the Dragon's House Hunting stuff, which was fucking hilarious. Chainsaw Man, Dorohedoro, Nebula Civilization, which again, my top recommendation of all time is Nebula Civilization. Okay, I have to refind it again. All right. So everyone's doing Wolf Guy, and it's not Wolf Guy. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the Duke, right? Maybe it's a manhwa? Hold on, manhwa. It might be a manhwa. That's what I'm thinking. But it's a long running series. tried looking at this. Wolves and Werewolves, the Ultimate Wolf List. And number 8 on this Ultimate Wolf List is a pleasure servant who won't cry. Anyways. I swear it's something like the Duke. It has something to do with the Duke, right? Man, there are a lot of these that are like interesting reading topics for later, perhaps. Bride of the Beast, my fated mate, bear my child. Wow, what a name for a what a name for that one. Holy shit. Oh, here we go. I think it is. This sounds familiar. Der Werewolf, The Annals of Veit. I'm pretty sure that's it. Yep, that's it. The Der Werewolf, The Annals of Veit is the name of it. It's just such Asians can't help it. They are innately horny. Apparently so. Good lord. Yes. This is it. Reincarnated to a werewolf magician, Veit was instated as the vice head of the Demon Lord's 3rd Brigade force. Occupying a remote market town, he was entrusted to management and defense. As a former human born a monster, I can understand the sentiments of both sides well enough. Because of that, those around seem to think I am a man of wisdom or something of the like. But it's really just one trouble after the next. I have to follow those monsters that are overly quick to resort to violence and do something about the humans who start to complain immediately. So today as well, I'll do my best at managing the Demon Lord's main force. Yep. Oh, well, I mean, that's the same thing here too, right, Dimitri? This is talking about Der Werewolf, The Annals of Veit. Highly, I've enjoyed it thus far. I don't know if I want to super recommend it yet, but I've enjoyed what I've read of it so far, right? But yeah, in this, all werewolves in my setting, all Wolverine, all shifters are spellcasters as well. They can genuinely cast spells and magic. They just use spiritual magics. The spirits themselves act as a conduit to channel the magical energies. All of the magic, though, still obeys the rule of the 11 schools of magic. Right? And the whole concept of contradictory magics. A spirit cannot gift you contradictory magics. Right? Even dragon spirits cannot give you contradictory magics. Wow. Right. So here is the here's the descriptor, right? So like why should you read Bride of the Beast, my fated mate, bear my child? Right? Ah, my beloved mate, I will now impregnate you. I cannot believe I have wed a beast man. Though I am terrified, his large fingers, his tongue, are gently making me melt. That's the descriptor. Why should you read this? There you go. That's all you need. Oh, wow. I mean, you might as well own it. Like, you might as well fucking just own it. You read it for work material. Oh, holy shit. We know what the ladies like. Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. This one's wild. Right. This is yeah. So here's the one for a pleasure servant who won't cry. In Voluna, a land ruled by Therianthropes, that's a fucking word, Therianthropes, or mythical part human, part animal creatures, human males are pets among the upper class. Already, woo, we're off to the races here. Shirogane is a member of the wolves who are particularly rough, and he chooses Susan, a slender human with milky white skin, as his new pet. Susan, it's Suzun, right? Susan is the perfect servant, but he hasn't said a single word since arriving at Shirogane's mansion. Determined to hear his voice, Shirogane tries every bedroom tactic he can think of. A fantasy romance about a kindly wolf Therian and a pet that goes beyond species. Wow. Welcome. Oh, my goodness sakes. Kindly actual sexual slavery. No, only this time it's a white boy. It's not a white woman moment, it's a white man moment. The white woman moment was Bride of the Beast, my fated mate, bear my child. They have the light novel. The white novel. God damn it. They have the light novel for Dare Werewolf. I might actually read that if it is actually the fully completed one. The light novel for Nebula's Civilization, by the way, is genuinely peak. Genuinely peak. Highly recommended. I will recommend Nebula Civilization all day, every day. That light novel is so fucking good. Holy shit. Sir Reginald, if he was here, Sir Reginald read it as well. He read the full thing, and it was genuinely fantastic. Yep. And again, it's medium thing, right? It's a medium. You don't need to describe the way a city looks for a few pages. You can literally just show us in a single image what the city looks like, and we get all the information we need from there. Forbidden Love, Therianthropic Omegaverse. Maya is an albino half-beast, Omega, who was sold into slavery as a child and has spent years in confined captivity, prized as a rare and valuable messenger of the gods. His royal captor's son, the alpha beastman Bard, has been warned never to touch him, but when the prince discovers Maya locked in a shed in the forest, he learns the lonely, isolated young man hasn't even been taught to speak. He's immediately attracted to the beautiful Omega and begins visiting him in secret, bringing him food and attempting to teach him how to communicate. But when Maya goes into heat, will Bard be able to fight his desire? What the Holy shit. Wow. Wow. Again, very on the nose. Holy shit. Not the fucking Omegaverse. By the way, there are so many of these. Right? So many of these. Oh, Omegaverse. 99.9% trash. Yeah. You guys have no idea how many of these. Right. I need you to understand this, okay? I want you to notice, see if you can notice the theme. Look at the covers. Right? Hang on. Can I scroll in and zoom in a bit? Okay, that's what I'm going to do. We're zooming a bit. Right. I need you all to look at the covers. See if you notice anything in particular about all these covers. There's a running pattern here. There's a running theme in a lot of these covers. Some of them break the mold, like, you know, that breaks the mold. But there's a running theme in many of these covers. Have you noticed it? No, it's not even the gay thing. No. It's a lot of it is two characters embracing. Right? That's what the vast majority of it. Werewolves give good hugs. They do. They do. That's true. That's true. Again, I could have shown you the first page. It's the same thing on the first page. What? And okay. We need to talk about Asia and titles, right? What is it with titles in all of the Oriental works, right? I may be a 40-something old guy, but some goddess gave me 9 cheat abilities. What the fuck? That's a fucking book title. Literal translation. I know, but it's one of those things like, what? What? No, it doesn't matter if it's a literal translation or not. Here's why it doesn't matter. Look at this. Look at this title. Look at this. What the fuck? That's how Western book titles used to be in the 18th century. Man. I guess I can't complain too much. Think about what the book title here is going to be, right? The full book title. Like, think about, like, the original for White Tower Chronicles, right? So it would have been Sakara, the White Tower Chronicles, and then the name of the actual book. Right? So you know what subdivision it's in. So this one would be Sakara, the Grand War, Guardians of Nature. Like, the book itself is just Guardians of Nature. But, to be fair, the full thing, it would be Sakara, the Grand War, Guardians of Nature. So you know, like, what era on the timeline it's in, right? Same thing with, it would be Sakara, Divinity, His Majesty the Dragon. What the fuck? I started thinking, like, what's the longest book title I've ever seen? Here's one that hasn't even been translated yet. Look at this book title. Look at this book title. What the fuck? Kaikeku means plan. Well, here's a synopsis. Holy shit. You ready for the synopsis on this one? Lumine. Right? Lumine. In the land of Solifor, witches and weredogs live alongside human beings. Werewolves are rare, believed by many to have gone extinct, and fetch a high price on the black market. A young werewolf named Lumine has been surviving on his own since he left his home, hiding his identity and working as a bodyguard. He is hired to protect a young witch named Cody, a moody and secretive boy with a talent for attracting trouble. Betrayed by others in the past, Cody doesn't trust his new bodyguard and tries to avoid him, making Lumine's job and his hope of making a new friend considerably harder. Eventually, an unfortunate event puts both their lives in jeopardy, forcing them to fight for survival together. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, and then we've got the one. Wolf Guy is the most one. Wolf Guy manga. That's the one that most people know of, though, right? I think the full title is, Emblem of the Wolf. But it might as well be, I don't know why they don't call it, like, here are the titles. Oh, no. This one actually properly categorizes it. Erotica, gore, sexual violence, action, psychological, romance, mafia, drama, school life, horror, fantasy, delinquent, supernatural, tragedy. I think that pretty much, that pretty much sums it up. I would have called it a fucking ecchi, honestly. Or an ichi, or however you say that word, because, oh my god. Whew. Look, the link in the anime section on the Discord. Okay. I know, but how do you say ECCH? Like ekchi? Ekchi? New light novel's title is 196 pages long. We've done it, folks. We've reached the pinnacle of light novels. In a world where light novel titles are getting longer and longer, one author by the name of Yuta Tanaka embraced the concept and decided to write a 196-page light novel where the entire book is the title. The best part, it was picked... Hold on. Best part, it was picked up by a publisher. Holy fuck, monkeys. What the shit? That's taking your art form to a whole new level. That's taking it to a whole new level. Ichi. Okay. Like JonTron. So Ichi. Ascended light novel. Absolutely. Oh, here we go. This is the one. This is why, right here, chat. This is why I started reading The Witch and the Beast. Right? Genuinely, what a badass fucking werewolf. Holy shit. No one is more loved by the moon or has more near blood flowing in him. Oh, yeah. And he goes on a fucking rampage. It's like, damn. Whole reason I started reading it. Only werewolf in existence. God damn it. Like, the stuff is an interesting concept, but man... When you see this, and you're like, okay. It's like, yeah, actual badass werewolves are fucking kick-ass. I hate when werewolves get so, like, puppy dog, right? Now, are you telling me that because you know, Mishima? Or are you telling me that because there's potential? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm very fucking frustrated because it implies that the beast, therefore, is not. That's how they usually go. No, I'm sorry. No, it's pretty clear that the beast is not a werewolf, which very much annoys me. And I was hoping they were. Yeah, that's what originally made me want to read it and everything. And I read so many fucking chapters. Yeah, so in my ranking for it, he would definitely be a wrecker, though, right? Dude is built like a genuine brick shit house, so he would absolutely be a wrecker. A lot of the Chinese books are very bad. Let me just put it that way, right? A lot of them are just bad because they're the laziest kind of power fantasy stuff, right? And petty power fantasy. Like genuinely so. Genuinely like petty power fantasy stuff, right? It's very depressing. Cultivators live for millions of years, more petty than a 4-year-old. Now, there's some like cultivation works that they don't delve into that pettiness. That's because again, they'll be good writers too. It's just that a lot of the written works, a lot of the manhuas, man. Okay, so manga is Japanese, manga. Manhwa is Korean, manhwa. That's Korean. Then you get manhua, which is Chinese, which is manhua, right? Most of the manhua is bad. Very, very bad. And it's part of their culture, right? Because China is very vindictive and petty and authoritarian, right? So a lot of their stuff is the most petty nonsense ever. Like the moment the main character gets a millimeter of power and leverage over somebody else, they immediately abuse it. Yeah. They immediately, without fail, abuse the shit out of it. Mr. Wolf is violently smothering me with love. What? What? Wait, no, that one didn't pop up, but this other one did? What the fuck? Hold on. It's another Yowie. Who would have guessed? The synopsis. The synopsis, chat. Chat, the synopsis. It's my first time with a man or a human, but, like, this, the only way we'll be able to calm down is to fuck each other. While relationships between humans and beastmen are still rare, an Omega with a beastman fetish, Taro, because that's an A, Sakutaro, spends his days taking his suppressants and dreaming of beastmen. However, one day, Sakutaro suddenly goes into heat in the middle of the street, and he's saved by a beastman he's never seen before. With such an excellent man in front of him, he can't stop himself from obscenely connecting their scorching bodies together. That's the synopsis. That's the synopsis. Holy shit. It's an Omega-verse. There it is. Oh. Yep. Synopsis, they bang. Omegaverse, aka how to legitimize impreg. Yeah. Yeah. Holy shit. Holy shit. Take your anti-boner pill, schizo. Oh, my goodness sakes. Right, no, I gotta stop doing this. Again, the entire point I did this was to find Der Werewolf, the Chronicles of Vite, right? Sorry, the Annals of Vite. It's the whole reason I did this. And now I've kicked off a rabbit hole. Man, I know I'm really toisty for werewolves, but good lord. Good lord. There's decorum, please. Too much research. You stared too long into the abyss. I did. And I found some ones that I like the look of too, and that's the worst part. Like, oh no. Oh no. No, it doesn't imply that at all. Again, you and implications. Ben, you have the wildest things for, like, silence implies something. It's like, no, it doesn't. Oftentimes, it's just you're being judged. You're being judged very harshly. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't keep me in suspense. Hold on a second. I found a good werewolf manga / anime. Badass werewolves, for sure. Hold on. That's what they're showing. That's what they're showing. Don't keep me in suspense. Right? And then the other one, they show visual. Like, okay, what is it? What is it? The Abandoned Sacred Beasts. Largely broken veterans who became incarnations of ancient deities like the Minotaur, Satan, and Siren, being hunted down by their former comrade, a werewolf. The incarnation of Fenrir. Ooh. Art is really good. The designs are great and has a lot of potential. The characters are interesting. I'd say it gives me a Berserk vibes more than anything else. Importantly, the werewolves are true humanoid wolves, unlike every other manga. Ain't that fucking true? Isn't that the fucking truth? That's an oldie. Avoid the official translation. Oh no. Really? Yeah, that's pretty fucking badass, though. Avoid official translations, eh? Okay. There's an anime though? Right. Well, let's do our searches, see if we can find it. To the Abandoned Sacred Beasts. Okay, there is an anime for it apparently already. On Crunchyroll. Sorry. I need the fucking cat meme image there, like. Alright, manga. The Abandoned Sacred Beasts, okay. Alt official English. No, thank you. There's no start reading book? No! I don't wanna! I don't want the one. Oh. Oh. Manga, fan translation. No one's fan translating this one probably because it has official English license. Fuck. Fuck. Yeah, I saw the other game franchise was Wolfenstein is being done now. Man. Yeah. By the way, remember today, chat. Today at 6, so here in 5 hours, we'll be doing prop hunt with Wolfie and them. So. Right. Yep, I need to go get myself some lunch. I am hungry. My stomach is rumbling at me. Shit. Bastard bitch shit fuck. Yeah, no, I'll keep that in mind. I will earmark that. Manga and comics. Even if I can't, we'll just try to find it, right? Try to find one that's properly fan translated. It's got to be out there somewhere. Yeah, the Dragon Hungers. I am very hungry. Very hungry. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, chat. Let's say, take care. Have a fantastic day. Stay safe and healthy. Get fit, get ripped. I will see you back here tomorrow. Yeah. Actually, no, I'll see you back here later today. I think I'll stream the prop hunt stuff too. Just because, why not? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we were gonna do something for Saturday Showtime as well. Hold on. I need to remember. I need to remember specifically. We were specifically discussing one. Yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. Fuck yes. Yeah. I remember I had it on the tip of my tongue, and I couldn't remember what it was. Something for you in the Discord. Such unsure how complete. Okay. By group, maybe. Okay. Right. I will start reading that. I will start reading that. Perfect. Save manga and comics. Perfect. Thank you very much. What about Little Trouble in Big China, aka Tiananmen Square? I know, right? I know. If only. Well, we don't even call them China anymore. We call them West Taiwan for a reason. Yeah. Anyways, bye-bye for now, everyone. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Oh, also, hopefully I get Twitch working again. That would be really fucking nice. Yeah. Bye-bye.